morning. I will call this workshop of the CROA Board of Directors to order. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Oh, no, Cindy was.
Okay, so we got Jackson and Cindy, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. First action item this morning is to approve the Island Village Phase 1 supplement, of which we have some questions. So Tom Slayton has been nice enough to join us this morning. So Tom, can you explain the latest reiteration of this supplement?
Yes, so as you may know, some of the board members had some questions and concerns about the prior version of the supplement and sought some clarification. We communicated with Madame Homes asking a few questions about the supplement, specifically related to the townhome properties that are going to be part of the service area versus the total number of properties that are going to be part of the initial supplement, which is going to be 54 units based upon a Madame replat. Madame was able to answer most of the questions, I think, and then answered some final questions. I believe it was on Wednesday or Thursday, which I shared with you. I don't know if any of the board members have follow-up questions on that. I think maybe David might. But the Madame tweaks or changes to the supplement were designed to answer most of those questions. Basically, there's a supplement that's going to be over the 54 replatted plots, and then within that 54, some of those units are going to be townhomes, and for those townhomes, there's going to be a service area that's going to service the additional services for maintenance, repair, landscaping, et cetera, just for those townhomes. The single family homes in that 54 are not part of that service area.
Can I ask a question? How many townhomes are they building totally? And about how many are in each phase?
So I don't know the answer to that question. I think we'd have to ask Matt.
I'm going from memory here, but I think it's 2/3, 1/3. So I'm thinking, and you were all there too, but I'm thinking it was about 300 townhomes in total.
300 in total, and then each
Roughly, this
phase.
is roughly. I think it was 2/3, 1/3.
It's like 1,200 units
Well, there was about 980 units plus about 300
apartments.
apartments. So that's how you get to the 1,200 roughly, and it was about 2/3, 1/3.
And about all the apartments are in phase 1.
Yes.
Right, and those
Wait, are we
being-
talking about apartments? Or are we talking about
No, we're talking
townhomes?
about apartments.
Apartments
Apartments
are-
300 in phase 1.
But I want, did I say apartments? I
They
didn't
said
know.
they
No,
were
you said
gonna have
townhomes.
70
We're clarifying for you.
Hold on. Yeah, hold on.
Sorry for interrupting. This is Leslie Candace. I'm the Chief Legal Counsel for Madame Homes, and also on the line is John Jor, who's our Land Development Specialist. We can tell you exactly the number of assigned units that were provided to us by the Celebration Company, if that's helpful.
Leslie, how many total townhomes are there in phase 1?
And John, can you confirm that there are originally, as I told Tom Slayton, there were some more lots that we're having to replat because the school board asked for a larger size. So there are 54 total lots. And John, correct me if I'm wrong, there are only, is it 18 lots that are townhomes within phase 1?
That sounds right, Leslie. I can bring up the complete count. 1 second.
Okay.
I can't.
And you guys, the board was having a discussion of total units within Celebration Island Village, but this supplement is to only address phase 1A. So this does not contemplate any future townhomes or any other product within the Island Village property, just the phase 1A property at this
So
time.
you don't know how many townhomes you're planning to build in total?
We have an allocation from the Celebration Company that we're entitled to build up to, but there is a conversion matrix that allows us to switch out, you know, if we want to build more single families instead of townhomes or anything like that. Within the county, we have the right to modify those going forward. So we've got the plat currently that we've planned for, but like phase 2 and phase 3, we own that property, but we haven't even just started design for it yet.
Okay, thank you.
So roughly, if you took 18 times 4, it'd be about 72 townhomes.
That's what she said when we were there, 70 townhomes.
Okay. Someone had a question and I'm not sure. Jackson, was that your question?
Well, I agree with those numbers. That's what they told us when we were there. So I'm good with that. I think the ultimate question here is how many service areas? There are, let's say 16 or 17 townhome buildings. That should be all under one service area. So it's one budget, it's one landscaping contract, it's one operation. At the same time, At the same time, the single family homes are not a service area. Island Village is not a service area. I think that we want to be very careful about how we use that terminology because it impacts voting rights, which we've talked about. It impacts budgets. I don't know how you're putting together the budget, Susanna, but I assume that you're doing it based on the number of buildings, right? And as they roll out buildings, that budget has to grow because the budget to service one building is different than the budget to service 16. You're nodding your head yes. Am I
Well,
correct about
Natalie's
that?
working on the budget, but we've been assisting them, but that is how it works.
Wait.
Like for
Wait.
Spring Lake.
I just want to make sure I heard you. Are you saying Mattamy is developing the service area budget?
They're working on the budget, but we have been assisting them with. kind of-
Why would Mattamy be doing our service area budget?
Because
Isn't
it's
that
an
our
initial
responsibility?
budget. It's not been turned over to us.
Right. Yeah, we
Okay.
don't own it yet. so.
They're looking to, the buildings haven't, been completed.
I got all that, but in every other service area, we run the budget, we set up the reserves, we do everything else. I just want to understand the process. You're saying that Mattamy will make up their numbers, and then when they turn over the buildings and you accept them after that 10-day inspection window, when will CROA through CCMC, through our management company, set up a service area budget and start that? Because that's the amount that the residents have to pay.
Right.
So how's that going to happen?
They're initializing the budget, trying to work their numbers because they know what they're building. Then they're going to show it to us and we're going to finalize it based on, what we have experienced in celebration. And we'll present it to the board as an action item to approve. So it's not getting past you without having been reviewed by everybody.
So-
I believe I agree that they need to be involved because they
Yeah, they're
know
doing the
what.
initial work.
So they're doing a draft budget. And you and Neil and any others will weigh in on that and say that seems low in such and such area. But it's ultimately for us to determine what the service area budget is based on your expert.
And will there be disclaimers? This might be a question for Tom or for counsel from Mattamy. Will there be disclaimers to potential buyers that those numbers are estimates and subject to approval by the CROA board?
I'm happy to report on that. So we've already opened for sale, and because the supplement hasn't been finalized and we don't have those final numbers, we've already told them that those numbers are speculative and we don't have any certainty as to what they might be. And the Florida statute has a specific disclosure that has to be made when you don't have the HOA documents finalized, and that information is being included in our contract documents for all sales to date.
Do we have a copy of those documents?
The contract sale documents,
Yes.
I'm not aware that you do. We can,
Would it be possible for you to forward them to Tom?
I mean,
Alright.
they're probably about 100 pages when you include all the addendums and attachments. I don't.
Yeah, we're pretty competent. Most of us can read.
Yeah.
I think 100 pages would be okay. I'd like to have a copy. I'd like to be able to have legal counsel
Okay.
review it and tell us we're okay.
Okay, so let's give,
Are you-
okay, I agree. I think we should review it because they are, they're speaking on our behalf, basically.
Yeah.
In their contract to their future residents.
Okay.
Here's my concern with this is I believe that with our experience in celebration, we have determined that larger service areas for townhomes are better than smaller service areas for townhomes, just for, first of all, contract basis and economies of the contract, as well as dealing with any issues that arise. So we have one contract, we have one level of service, and we have all of them under the same service area. I spoke with, Tom was explaining this morning that this would be just for the 18 townhomes that are coming online with phase 1A. But we would like the rest of the townhomes in Island Village to be covered by the same service area ultimately. Is that covered in this supplement? I'm looking at Tom.
Yeah, so it doesn't explicitly say that. The discussions that we had before, we had always talked about one service area. But in response to some of the questions that were brought up by the board, Ms. Candy's indicated that they were considering additional service areas beyond just the one townhome service area. And I guess I would invite Ms. Candy's to kind of speak to that.
Yeah, so Tom, as we've discussed, this supplement is only for the phase 1A property. And we have certainty as to what we're building there because we're currently constructing and selling homes within phase 1A. So to the extent that we build a future project or product, say, for example, like a 4-unit patio home, which is like a 0 lot line, one building but all of them are attached. They might have a different maintenance obligation than a townhome building. Now, we're not currently doing that. And so that would be in any subsequent phase, and that would have to be approved by the celebration company and then also have to be addressed at that time with CROA. So that would require potentially future different maintenance obligations than, say, a townhome building. So because we're only trying to subject the phase 1A property and those lots to the declaration at this time, we don't think it's appropriate to restrict any future service areas if and when they might come online. And we don't know when that might be. This is only intended to address phase 1A property, which is why it only lists the phase 1A lots on the exhibit to the supplement. So not any future, products or service areas or anything like that. That might be something we want to do, or even CROA wants to do at a later date. So we've left that open.
So Tom, let me just ask the real question then. We will have the flexibility when we have to approve things in the future to address this issue at that time if we want to expand the same service area.
Right. So if Madam A submits a different supplement in the future for additional townhomes, they would have to get your approval.
At which point we could say we want it all in the service area, the same service area.
Yeah, if you all feel that it needs to be in one single service area, especially the townhomes, for example, because I know that's our primary concern, then you would have the authority to say, no, we want it to be part of the phase 1A townhome service area group.
Okay.
Could we say in this document that it is the intent, and when signing this, that all future townhomes would be under this single service area? Can we say that that's not a commitment, that's an intent?
I don't think that's appropriate because it would be binding future property.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was addressing Tom.
Sorry.
Yeah, so yes, you can express an intent in any document. But as Ms. Candies was just saying, she's concerned about the effect of that intent in this document binding future development. But yes, an intention can always be expressed in an agreement if all sides are willing to sign off
Yeah,
on it.
I mean, to be honest, it's not that it's illegal to do that, is it? It's just that one party to this document doesn't want to bind future successors in interest. But clearly you can bind future successors in interest under Florida law. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
So then what happens if they decide in the next phase, they're going to build a couple townhomes, but then they're also going to build patio homes, which she said would have a different, they would still be a service area, but they would have different needs. So then would we create another service area?
We could, or we could choose to put it in this service area, but it would be difficult in that example, in my opinion, to have something that has two separate levels of obligation. So I understand that, but I just want my opinion is all the townhomes should be one service area.
And it may be, we may deem it inappropriate to have a service area for patio homes.
What's a patio
Yeah.
home?
Well, whatever they define it to be. So we define, service area is when you have multiple units together. A duplex wouldn't be a service area. Now, can you imagine?
We have one.
Well, we do have duplex.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
a
but they're a
triplex.
cluster of duplexes. It's not a duplex.
Right, it's not two homes on Rose.
It's not two
Right.
homes. So it's a cluster.
Right.
And they can be, and some of our service areas are more spread out than others.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
contiguous.
So I guess at this point, I think we all seem to be of the same opinion that all the townhomes should be one service area. And if we could have a language that would say that is our intent, if there's a patio home built in the future, which we do not know if that's going to happen, no plans have been submitted, nothing has been approved for that. So that's only a possibility, but we do know the townhomes are going to be built because those have already been approved. I think that's how we should proceed.
We could even say it is our intention with the addition of future townhomes to have them in the one service area, but it is subject to review by the board of CROA at that point in time. I mean, we can leave it softer, but I think if we can put that sentence or two in there, then we've made it clear what we're thinking, then we could probably move forward to approve this.
Okay. So so for
Tom, how would I put that in legalese?
Yes.
You'll be the person
Tom.
writing it.
I mean, just off the top of my head, an expression of intention would be somewhere in the document, probably in the section that creates the townhome units, that it is the intention of the parties, if Madam A is willing to sign off on it, or it's the intention of Celebration Residential Owners Association, that all townhomes in Island Village be part of a single service area, and subject to future review and approval by CROA. So
And
that's
I would be
basically-
happy with that language. I would even be happy to say it's the intention of the Celebration Residential Owners Association, which doesn't bind Mattamy. They can say it's the CROA board and they're part of life. So.
I would, yeah.
Right. I
So will
agree.
you make a
It's
motion?
recorded. So I'm making the
You make
motion
a
to say
motion.
is the
Second your
intention of
motion.
Celebration Residential Owner Associations. Rest of what Tom said, Susanna, which you can read online, Amy. And that would be our motion, and then we approve this to go forward.
And then and I will second that, and then we can choose to approve that, and Mattamy can choose to, if should we pass it, they can choose to sign off on it
So
or
we can,
not.
yeah, so that
Well,
will,
If you've seconded it, we've made the motion, we've seconded it. We can
Yeah.
let Mattamy speak if they have a comment right now.
any further discussion?
My only comment is I would just like Tom to go ahead and draft the language and send to me for review, because I'm not sure I'm understanding exactly where he's suggesting it be inserted in the agreement. So I'd like to review it, but other than that, that's fine. So Tom, if you
Okay.
can send that to me.
Very
that's
good.
the
Jack-
meeting.
Yeah.
Jackson, did you have another comment?
I do. I just want to confirm with Tom that there is no problem with us voting to approve this at whatever today's meeting is called, workshop or board meeting.
That's fine. You have a quorum of the board. You've noticed the meeting. You're able to take actions. You've adopted an agenda.
So on the advice of council, we can approve this.
Right. I
Thank-
mean,
Thank you for clarifying. Okay, any other comments? I'm going to call the vote. Okay,
Yes, okay.
Brian is a yes.
Brian is a yes. Brian is a yes. Cindy?
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Celia,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. So, and I don't believe Kevin is online. Patrick, okay, so
Okay, and
that passes 6-0.
And then what we're happy with is if their attorney and Tom can agree where it goes, consistent with the language that we just discussed, then we're there.
And then it's done.
Then we're moving
Should
on.
Mattamy sign off on it?
Yes.
Yes.
that's
And if
up to-
they
and that
don't,
is
then
up
it
to
comes
them.
back for reconsideration.
Yes, that
Yep.
will be up to them.
Okay.
And you're clear on what we ask, and if you
Yes.
could provide us with copies, that's,
Yes.
And
of
this,
course.
and this
Thank you.
document will be provided to buyers. Is that correct?
oh, yes.
Supplemental.
Well, it will be,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but the supplement, once it's recorded, will be a part of every buyer's homeowner's title insurance policy,
Yes.
along with the declaration documents, just to
I'm sure
clarify.
it's part of their whole closing.
Yeah, no, I just want to confirm.
Thank you.
Make sure
Okay,
they-
any other questions on
Good.
that? All right, time to
Nicely
move
done.
on.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Supplement approved. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
very
joining us
much.
this morning.
Thank you.
Unless you want to hear about committee applicants, I'm sure you're free to go. Okay.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, you know.
Real
All right.
pain.
So the next process is, the next item on the agenda is to talk about the remaining committee applicants. And these are for committees who had more applicants than available slots, or committees that we did not have enough applicants or have the approval at our last board meeting. So what I would like to do, okay, my screen just jumped. I thought I lost my agenda because that's where my agenda is on the screen. So what I'd like to do is go through the committees. The first motion is, or the first is to appoint 5 members to the Architectural Review Committee. And you all have documents that we've talked about this before. So we'd like to see if there is a motion for approval on the Architectural Review Committee.
Are we, will we have more, are we
We do.
using names, not using names?
We
How
are using
making- What are we
candidate-
doing?
We are using
Column-
candidate numbers, and
column
you can
three.
see
Okay.
that on column 3, there are candidate
Working off of
numbers.
David's thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is
So-
based on your all's feedback, and I
Yep.
hope I transcribed
So
properly.
So-
I have a motion to make.
Okay.
I would move to approve candidates 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to the Architectural Review Committee.
I'll second that motion.
And is there any discussion on that?
For the sake of the record, we have a candidate 5 and a candidate 6. Candidate 5 has architectural background,
Yes.
works in design work and everything like that. So has a strong background for the Architectural Review Committee. And I've heard that comment from people on the ARC too. So
So, and
That's
this is a committee that really, you need to have some background and some,
it helps.
it helps to be
A
efficient.
clarification of something you did not say is you gave a good rationale. That person is currently not on the committee. But also several of us have had a prior discussion, I think, in this room about we don't have to fill a committee.
Mhm.
Right.
So
But this,
anyway, we have 5
think that's when we
applicants,
do.
5 people. We could have 4, we could have 10 applicants and only appoint 4.
Correct
Okay,
statement.
so just.
But in this case, we know they really need 5 people.
They-
They do.
they
They
need
are-
5
they are
people,
an
And we have 5 qualified people.
There's 4 returning and 1 new with experience.
And just one other comment, based on our new administrative resolution, you can only be on 2 committees. So,
Yeah.
and that's is the resolution that we are working under with the direction. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve candidates 1 to 5 for the ARC committee. I will call the vote. Jackson,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Celia,
Yes.
and
Yes.
David. And I am yes as well. The architecture,
When do the residents know that they're
as,
been approved?
as soon as the.
As soon as
the
today is
management
over,
team-
Susanna gets busy.
Okay.
Did I say that right?
As soon- Yes.
I've been busy since
Okay.
4.
She's
All right.
busy in the middle of the night.
We have a motion to appoint 6 members to the Finance Committee. Do I have a motion that we would like to discuss?
I'll motion that we approve numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay. That's the motion. Any discussion?
Yes.
We need a second, but I'll second.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
And then we can go
Second,
to
yes.
discussion.
I want to register my deep opposition to candidate 6 instead of candidate 7. Candidate 7 is a CPA, a senior partner in a Big 8 accounting firm, full-time resident of Celebration, former head of a service area committee. Candidate 6 is a part-time resident, no financial experience as a CPA or a CFO, and someone that I just think is not appropriate for this committee. And I really, truly hope the rest of the board considers that. We've got a better qualified candidate here who wants to serve and lives here 12 months out of the year. And I think it makes a difference. So I'm going to register my strong opposition to candidate 6. I'm good with all the other candidates.
Okay. Any other comments?
Give me one.
Jackson, I'm not sure your do you have that, the stuff in front of you?
Yeah.
I'm not sure your assessment of candidate number 6 is correct.
He's actually got a master's in finance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but he's
he-
not a CFO. He's not,
Okay, but
I,
I'm
no,
just-
okay.
I understand, but if I take the group as a whole, we said we were building it to be diverse. There are several people on that group who had corporate backgrounds, risk management backgrounds. I mean, I can look at a person on there who, was on the Chicago Board of Trade, and dealt with risk management there and stuff like that. So we've got people on there with finance, risk management. I worked with all 6 people in the first year. And I voted yes to the same 6 people just because with the finance committee, it's going to be one of the people who looked at the RP task force. It provides continuity. One of the questions we have, by the way, number 7 is a highly qualified person. There's 0 doubt about that. One of the questions we have not addressed with committees is, do we have people on a committee forever? Because you'll notice on David's sheet that I wrote yes, 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 and then I wrote next. And I questioned why we don't start a rotational system with qualified people, because I think it's dangerous to always have the same people on the same committee. forever.
I would also agree with that, but I think that next time we look at the administrative resolution for the committees for 2022, I think that's something that we need to look at to instill, to put into the resolution, a
turnover.
rotation, a slated rotation. And maybe we can look at that resolution as this board, because our board ends in February, that resolution could get approved in the first of the year, so we can make sure that that is implemented.
Has participation ever been an issue with number 6?
Never. I mean, the honest answer is every single person on the finance committee has made every single meeting. I've just had 0 issue.
We have,
With anybody.
we are so lucky to have so many committed
Yeah,
volunteers,
and
so.
my point about residency is not that they can't participate via Zoom. It's who lives here, who experiences the community day in and day out. And I mean, if we're really being flat out honest about it, this individual, number 6, has expressed, I think, things that are not supportive of CROA, not supportive of the work that we're doing. I think it is a bad choice. And it's not the committee that I'm a liaison to. I would defer to Brian and Cindy in virtually every regard, but I cannot sit here in good conscience and vote for this individual. I don't think they represent what we want
Okay.
as a member of a committee.
Okay, Celia and then David, and then we'll call the vote.
Okay, stupid question.
No, never.
Why can't we just have 7 people on
The
the finance.
resolution, the resolution.
The charter actually
says
says
six.
6 people plus board member who we've nominated. That's the treasurer. And
Oh,
our
okay.
resolution should always be the
Just, I
board
thought it
member.
would be a
Just-
simple
no.
solution.
It would be, but in this case, we can't.
Okay.
Yeah. My thinking on number 6 is that that individual is already on the committee, and this is a new parenthesis tender, no offense, committee, and I would prefer that it continue to mature and then raise questions per the prior discussion
Okay,
next time.
I would like number 7 to be on next year, though.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
do
we
that.
need to start the process.
I hope we keep this as a.
Very good. all right. Good. I'm going to call the vote. Jackson,
So could you explain the vote again?
I'm
Is
sorry,
1, 2,
we
3,
are-
4,
we have
5, and
voted-
6?
we have voted, yes. The motion is to approve candidates 1 through 6.
I approve candidates 1 through 5. I vote against the motion.
Okay, so your vote is no. Cindy?
My vote is yes for all 6.
Okay,
as
Brian?
Stated.
I'm a yes.
Cindy or Celia? Celia?
Okay, so the motion is.
Candidates
1 through
1 through
6.
6.
I'm gonna vote no on 6.
You got to vote no on the, then that,
It's an all or
fine.
none.
it's an all
Okay.
or nothing. I'm sorry?
She's a no, she's a.
You're a no for the whole, for the
So
split.
it's no on.
motion.
To vote
all
on
of
one,
them?
you have to vote no on the whole motion because it's all 5. It's all 6 of them, I'm sorry.
At this moment.
At this moment.
We're
At
just,
this
If
moment.
the motion fails, we do a new motion.
Right.
It's a yes or a no.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Okay, I'm a
David?
yes.
You're a yes. And I'll be a yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. All right, the next one is recreation, which again, we have an abundance of candidates, which is a wonderful thing. So the Recreation Committee has 7 members, so our
Yeah,
motion is
and-
for 7 members to the Recreation Committee.
Can I, or,
can I make a motion?
go ahead and then we'll.
Yes, and then we can.
I
just-
move to approve candidate 1, candidate 2, candidate 3, candidate 4, candidate 9, and candidate 10, and candidate 12.
2, 3,
For
4, 5,
purposes of
6,
conversation,
7.
I'll second
Okay,
it.
okay, so
Can you
now
repeat those numbers? I'm
I'll read them
sorry.
off. 1, 2, 3,
4.
4,
Look at the yeses under
9,
Jackson's name.
10, 12.
That's another way to do it, right, Jackson?
Okay, so
I
now,
hope that's
All
consistent.
right.
so now,
Can we,
there was, well, so let me explain my
We
rationale.
need- did we
can
have
I
a
just
second?
make one clarification?
Brian,
Oh,
Brian
I'm sorry.
seconded.
Thank you.
Yes.
Number 12, that person is an incumbent.
They
right?
are, yes.
That
It
person
was
is an
just
incumbent.
Incorrect
yeah.
there, but they are.
Yes,
So-
and there is also a difference here between owners and renters.
Yes, so can I
Is that?
Can
part
I
of
explain
your-
the rationale?
You go
for
right
that-
ahead, because
that
that will
motion?
help.
So there, as Celia and I are the liaisons to that committee, my hope is that the CROA board will defer to us like you just did to the finance committee. The liaisons. We have, in this motion, we have nominated returning members who are homeowners and who are active in the recreation field. We have added, or I have added in this motion, 2 individuals who are both owners, one of whom ran for CROA, the other of whom, and is involved in soccer intimately, and the other is also involved in the soccer program. The rationale is that we should have people on this committee who are actively involved in the activities that we're supervising. One of the questions that was raised was, wouldn't they have a conflict of interest? And the answer is yes, they would on that particular product. But if you look at candidate number 4, who has been on the committee for 3 years, candidate 4 owns a business that is a recreation partner and has voted, excuse me, has voted each time to recuse himself when that's come up. I'm also going to point out that candidate number 5, who was on the committee, was at the center of a problem last year on that committee that required that candidate, that individual, to formally apologize for their behavior during the committee meeting, had to meet with the president of CROA, did not comport themselves in the way that the resolution says that a committee member should comport themselves, and finally has no recreation experience or activity or personal activity. So that's why the recommendation is made as it is. A number of the other candidates are renters, and I don't feel like they should be given priority. So that's my reasoning.
So 9 and 10, really, we have a whole group of people who have interest in soccer.
Yeah.
9 and 10 would represent the interest of a lot of people, whether they were owners or renters, is what we're saying.
Mhm. Any other comments? So we have a
No,
motion.
Yeah, and I agree with the renters piece,
I do too.
but again. we
This is
said-
Jerry Barr. Can
Excuse
I
me.
make a comment?
One
Excuse
moment,
me.
Jerry, I'll call on you in just a moment.
Renters and anyone not approved is welcome to attend and participate.
Yes.
And we have that true for all of our committees.
Any other comments from the board? Okay, and we have a resident comment.
This is Jerry Barr. I am number 6. Jackson
No,
Mummy's.
No, he is.
No, actually, you are not, sir.
I am not? Are you sure?
We're not talking about.
Because it
We're not
sounded a
talking,
lot-
just make your comment, Jerry. It doesn't matter what candidate numbers we're talking about, but please make your comment.
Well, if someone is, I don't want to make a if I am on that list to be approved, then that's fine. If I am not, I would like to know why not.
Okay. Well, this is a vote between the board. Thank you for that.
I call the question.
Okay. All right. I will call the vote. Jackson,
And again, can I confirm the numbers?
please go right. Yes. just
Numbers
for-
1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, and 12.
And your vote is
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Celia. These are your recommendations. David is a yes. Celia.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes because I'm a yes as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, and 12 have been approved. Okay, let's go on to Dog Park Committee. Dog Park Committee can have a maximum of 7, and we have 4 applicants, which is great because we only had 2 when we talked last time.
Make a motion.
Please make a
approve
motion.
Numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Second.
Second, do we need any discussion on candidates 1, 2, 3, and 4?
No.
Call the vote. Jackson,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Celia,
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Diana, yes, and we have passed. We have a dog park committee. Thank you for those who stepped up to make this committee full. Oak Pond Townhomes, this is a service area committee. We can appoint up to 5 members. We have 3 candidates. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Second.
To appoint all 3, just to clarify,
Yeah,
right?
no, sorry, yes.
Okay, there's
Second.
3 and 5. But we have a
Second.
motion. We have a second. I'm going to just say all in favor for this one.
Aye.
And everyone voted?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Parkview Townhomes. We can appoint up to 5 members. And that is, we have 4 members on the committee. Do I have a motion? Or
So
4
moved.
applicants, I'm
So
sorry.
moved for all 4.
Can we just like
I
do
think
all
we-
of
I think
these
we-
at once?
I don't think we should because.
Yeah, let's continue what we're
Okay,
doing. We'll
okay.
just take a moment because I think the rest of them are pretty straightforward. Okay,
Okay,
so Park Home Townhomes, we have 4 applicants for 5
I'll
positions.
make a motion for all 4.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and again, any discussion?
I don't know how to phrase this exactly,
Mhm.
but one board member voted in such a way that there wouldn't be enough people
Certainly.
to make this a viable committee.
Which is
Well,
why
we
you have
didn't
7 board
vote. You
members.
asked for
We
recommendations.
didn't vote. Yeah, thank
You
you.
asked-
Yes,
not a
yes,
vote,
we
yes.
did
It's not a
vote.
vote. We were,
Well, but I mean recommended.
So-
I'm
Yeah.
just
Sure.
I,
curious.
We
I
have to make
intend
sure
to
that-
vote for all 4.
Okay,
I have reservations for specific reasons, but we need a service area committee. One
to-
of those applicants has indicated that they intend to sell their property,
okay.
and therefore they will be coming off that committee. And I felt that that was probably not the best choice, but we need a service area committee, and I'm going to vote to approve it. So
Okay. I was
thanks
just-
for
I was
calling
just-
me out on
And
that.
just,
Well, I was just curious.
just to clarify, Cindy, because we
Yeah.
did not vote. We
I
had
misspoke.
recommendations
Yeah.
because we can only vote in
Right.
workshops and
No, I
meetings,
misspoke.
just so we
Yeah.
are all 100% clear.
me, all new directors
Okay.
yelled at on that one.
Yeah, if he didn't get you, I was gonna get you.
Okay, just,
In a
so
loving-
it's on the
In a
record.
constructive way.
Yes, in a construct, we just
Other
have to
than
make
the
sure.
wrong
Okay,
word.
so
That's
on the
all.
Parkview Townhomes, we have 5 available spots. We have 4 applicants. We have a motion and we have a second. Jackson,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Celia,
Yes.
David,
Yes,
yes, and I'm a yes as well. Motion passes. Get this off then. So the next one is the Spring Lake Gardens.
I make a motion that Spring Lake Townhomes, South Village, all be approved for the
Second.
4,
Yes.
5, and 5.
There is a second?
I second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay,
That
I'm
was
gonna,
Celia's intent prior.
that was Celia's
Thank
intent.
you.
We're
But we
moving-
couldn't do it on the
Which is a
last
good-
one.
Yeah, that was a different one. Yeah, we're good.
Good
See, there
idea,
you
but
go.
early.
Thank you, Mrs.
All right,
Swisher.
so I will call the vote on this one. We are approving
What?
Spring Lake Gardens, Spring Lake Townhomes, and South Village Townhomes all in one, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Celia,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. So
And
those
it's
are,
great to
are all
see
done.
so many service areas coming together
yes.
with committees.
Okay, so we did, the next one is to appoint up to 5 members to the Artisan Park Lifestyle Subcommittee. And they have 12 applicants for this subcommittee. And we do have recommendations from the Artisan Park Committee on who they would like appointed, or I guess reappointed to this subcommittee. Do we have a motion?
I'll move for the 5 they recommended to start conversation.
Okay.
A second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for 5 members to the Artisan Park Lifestyle Subcommittee. Mr. Jackson.
So I'm ultimately going to vote to approve this, even though I disagree with the individuals that have been selected. But I think there's a bigger principle, which is that we want to recognize that elections matter and the choices of those leaders matter. And I wish that those leaders had shown the same deference to the prior leaders and their choices. But I think that we have an obligation now, since the APC has recommended those people, to approve them. But I think it should be noted that we are doing that in part because we recognize their sovereignty and choice to do that, and that should be respected going forward.
Nice statement. So we have a motion, we have a second. I will call the vote. Jackson,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Brian from the
Yes.
pocket table, yes. Celia
Yes.
and David,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. So motion passes. And we have completed our duty to fill all of our committees for 2021.
Yay.
Yes,
Can I make one other final comment
yes.
on this? Neil suggested, I'm sorry, Neil can't be with us today, but Neil suggested in an email to us that going forward, we might want to consider having a nominating committee. And I think that's a terrific idea. This has been a painful process. I don't like being the negative guy here. I don't like being the one that said no to people. I think it's part of our responsibility as board members, obviously, and I think we all took that seriously. And I know some people will be very unhappy with some of these votes that were taken today. Nonetheless, we are getting to the point, the size, where doing members of these committees is no longer just, we don't have enough bodies, so everybody gets in. It is clearly something different. Recreation was a good example of that. We have some others. A nominating committee would take a lot of that burden off of the board. We could have gotten this done a month ago or more. So I'm going to ask that if it's the consensus of the board, that we direct management to start to put together some sort of a program for a nominating committee for next year.
I love the idea, David.
Yeah, I echo exactly what Jackson said. I think it's appreciated Neil's email. I think that's a great approach. A dovetail on Jackson is that takes us to do so would take us more out of the weeds and move towards the higher level, which is appropriate for the board. And then as an idea, a couple of ideas for for management is, one is, if there's a nominating committee, it would be my suggestion that not count as one of the 2 committees, because it's a short-term piece. In other words, you can only be on 2 of CROA committees. So this wouldn't count.
The short term.
Again, that would have to fall into the change in the administrative resolution.
So it may not be a committee,
dictated.
maybe we call it we may call it something else.
That's a
I
good
would
idea,
like- I would-
task force.
The other thought on that is that we may, as a starting point, think about another short-term group, and that's the group that does the counting of ballots at election time. Because that's an established group and has a good history and good,
And they-
good
they-
attention to
yes,
detail.
Yes,
Okay.
Brian.
Whatever, so Susanna, whatever we choose to call this nominating thing, we need to approve at an actual board meeting in the evening, I think, but I wanted people's ability to be on that to have a lifespan. So in other words, it could become the most powerful thing in town. If somebody thinks I'm going to go on nominating committee, I'm going to be there for 20 years and I'm going to control which ones of my friends and enemies get put where. So it almost, just like we have a board, which is like 2, 2, 3, however many we're going to have there, we should figure some way to stagger it so you have a life on there and then we get fresh people, fresh ideas.
So I would think that we need a resolution
We
for
will.
the nominating committee. So we'd have to pull that together. And this would not, of course, would not be until the board or the committees for 2022. Since
But
these
it's
have
the kind
already
of thing
been
that we
created.
ought to strive to get done
Yes,
in,
long
say, the
before.
second quarter or no later than July, so then we could find people to go on it by August or September, so that they have the fall to get organized for next year.
And that'd be a recommending body,
Yes.
not a decision
Yeah, no.
body.
Recommendations.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, yeah, no,
I
I
think
thought,
it's a great idea.
and I'm sure we'll have people who would love to be on that committee or
Well,
task
and-
force, whatever it ends up being called.
Probably an obvious statement, but we also need to revise the interest form and ask,
Can we
you know,
get this
as I
resume?
went through these, some people included a resume, some people did not. So if you don't know those people, then you don't know those people. So I think there should be some open-ended questions like, why do you want to be on this committee?
Yes.
You know, list five of your talents or whatever that you think will be helpful to this group. You know, things like that give you some insight. And if they have a resume to attach, perfect.
Yeah.
Very
You
good.
know,
So
And
is
I
the
love-
Nicely done.
questionnaire in lieu of the resume or required for everyone that wants to volunteer?
I think you should, I would suggest that both be part of it, you know, attach a resume, you know,
Yeah,
if
no,
you
no, no.
want
I
to.
mean, some people may not have a resume.
Exactly. That's what you have to ask questions where they would, you
Yeah.
know,
So, yeah,
give
if
you a
you
little
can,
insight as to why they want to be on the committee, why
So-
they think they can be helpful.
we can put that together and
You
kind of
know,
present
my
that
friend
for approval.
Diana's on the committee is not necessarily,
Oh,
you know,
come on, it'd be
Oh,
fun. It'd be fun. We'll all be
Okay.
together.
Always
Okay,
forget.
very good. All good, all good
No-
suggestions. I love the idea of the nominating committee. I think that creates a lot of transparency.
and I
in
would
this
love to help
process.
if
There you
you
go.
get to the point where you're
You might have a
you know,
liaison. Okay,
formulating those things. I'd love to work with you on that, if that's
Okay.
okay, Diana.
Very well.
I
I-
love forms.
There you go. All right.
And just to confirm, I was talking to Tom about whether or not that is permissible. You want to share your comment?
Oh, right. The reason, and probably the reason why Jackson asked is because the state discourages nominating committees for boards. And so he was asking to make sure that didn't extend to committee selections, and it doesn't.
Okay.
The only restriction for the state is to make sure that there's not a group controlling who can then run for the board. But it certainly is allowed for, to assist you as the board with selection of committee members.
Good for making recommendations, but not to
Exactly.
board members, just committee members.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. That's,
Yeah,
we
good
want to
point.
stay, that's
This
why.
is Terry Barr, a resident.
Yes, Jerry.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
I have a question for Tom Slayton. As Jackson alluded to, the sovereignty of the Artisan Park Committee, does the CROA board have any power to nominate people for Artisan Park committees or Artisan Park subcommittees, apropos of what you're going to propose?
So, yeah, the Artisan Park Service Area Committee makes recommendations to the board, and the board acts on those recommendations. And I think the vote that was taken reflected that. Because I don't know what's about to come up on my list, I'm not sure I understand the question.
My question is, the CROA board is going to now have a nominating committee for committees. Does that have anything to do with the Artisan Park Committee or recommendations of the Artisan Park Subcommittee committee regarding subcommittee appointments?
Well, right now, the structure of the recommendation committee has not been set up, but it is possible that the nominating committee would receive recommendations from Artisan Park Service Area Committee, and then go through the process of reviewing and vetting those before turning them over to the CROA board.
All right, there's a lot to hash out. There's a lot to hash out with us, and I'm not sure this is the right forum to do that. As we move forward with the process, we will of course do that at our workshops and our meetings where we can have questions. So we're gonna move on to the next topic, except Brian, if you have, okay, let's move on. The next is to discuss the CCFC opening to all residents. And our process here is to open the Celebration Community Field Complex to all residents using their key cards, so they have access to use the facilities. And that was, and I'm not sure Nikki's here, but I think you can.
She's online.
Oh, she's online. Hi,
online.
Nikki. Okay. Have we moved forward with this process? Nikki, are you available?
No, we have not made any movement towards that.
Okay.
that I'm aware of.
Brian?
So I'm actually the person who has brought this up
Yes,
several
several
times. This
times.
goes to all the work we did with the rethink and everything. So I'll make a motion and then we can have the conversation. My motion would be that the Celebration Community, the CCFC gates should be key pass, just like we do the pools. It'd be subject to hours that the board determines the park should be opened and closed. But if someone wants to, and that's the motion. And then and if we can get a second, then we'll go to conversation.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so the thought was, we have residents who, if it's in the middle of June and it's 10 o'clock in the morning and no one's using the field and 8 kids want to go out there and play soccer, let them. We have residents who want to jog out there. I mean, a lot of people on the board get comments about, we're paying for the thing, we'd like to be able to walk it, use it, see it, stuff like that. So that's the idea. And then it would be, so we'd be putting the key pass on there. We'd have hours. And that's
Posted.
what we're talking about.
Okay, so we have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion? Celia, your hand is up. And then I also
Okay.
see a resident comment.
So if you have a key pass and the kids go in and they want to have a pickup game of lacrosse or soccer, do they know that there's a team going to be going there that is already renting the field? When the team gets there that are renting the field, is there going to be confrontation? Oh, we're already on the field. We were here first. How does that work? Determining who's allowed to be there and who's not allowed to be there.
Well, a suggestion, I mean, a suggestion would be to post the schedule, just like we have outside these rooms,
Right.
the sign that says
Mhm.
this room is reserved from 10 to 12 for the workshop. So I think that could also work for the ball fields as well, so they know which is available.
That
to be
would go on the
used.
gate so they
On the
can
gates
visually
or-
see it.
Well, ultimately, we could even put a small electronic sign out there. In this day and
Yeah.
age, you could literally have it so Susanna or somebody, Nikki, could just literally sit there. There's a schedule that comes in and says, we've got 3 soccer fields, field 1 is booked from here to here,
Just so
Yeah.
there's no
No, yeah, no, I think
confrontation.
communication is going to be key to this, and I personally like to get this done before school's out, because I think that's when it's going to happen. David and then Jackson, and then we'll go. We have 3 resident comments now.
Yeah, so this idea has been floated maybe for 9 months.
At
So it's
least.
maybe a
Been floated a
little,
long
maybe a
time.
little longer. And you started floating, and I think it's a great idea. I don't want to defer too long, but maybe we can get some thinking from the Recreation Committee if they haven't already
They
discussed
have
it.
not.
Okay, and if that's within the purview of this year's
Yeah.
charter.
Yeah,
When is your next recreation meeting?
But I don't want to.
This month, I mean, we meet monthly. It's not a real long time.
Okay.
I was
Jackson.
going to piggyback on that. Recreation Committee, I think, is one place to discuss this. I think there's another question with regard to liability. I'm all for having people be able to go out and walk, but as soon as you start talking about kids having a pickup game out there on those fields, we incur some responsibility. And it's not a reason not to do it, but I think it's something we need to think through what we're going to do, because if a private resident wants to have a field, they book it and they have to show proof of insurance. So I don't think we'd ask that.
So,
in
but-
this case.
But let's compare, I was going to compare it to like.
Because I'd
Spring
like to
Spring
hear
Park.
Tom answer this question then, because we have Spring Park,
East
Heritage Hall,
Village,
we all know
yeah.
where we're talking. Back behind Heritage Hall, there's pickup games all the time. There used to be when I was over there.
North
That's
Village,
our
same
field
thing.
too. Why would this be different?
Or would it be different?
Well, you're basically comparing organized events with insurance versus just single or individual use of the property, which is a common area. Both of them are going to incur some liability. You have protection for the organized. You don't have protection for the unorganized. That's not a lot different than what most common areas end up being used by. If you have a community with just the one, for example, tennis court, and it's just first come, first served, then you do incur some liability. for that, and you have protection for that, as you probably know.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. Good question to ask, though.
Okay.
I'm not sure whose hand was up first, but I think Joseph's hand was first.
Thank you, Joseph Linehan, 1258 Celebration Avenue. A lot of great comments on the accessibility to the CCFC, and it's something that was looked at all the way back when we were originally setting up how access would happen to those fields. The first thing is that in terms of cost for the key system that goes back there, I just want to say that if you do decide to go with Lot D for additional sports activities, the gate's going to be open all the time anyway. So you don't have to worry about having to pay for key access, because once we put something else back there, everything is just going to be open. And we had initially discussed having it open during regular hours anyways, but again, if we're going to go with added amenities back there, it just means that gate is going to be open all the time anyways for access. In regards to the liability aspect, on the soccer fields, there is definitely a negligence liability aspect with the equipment, such as the goals that is through the manufacturer directly, in that the goals are supposed to be locked up when not in use, and when in use, have specific safety precautions in place. So that is something that would have to be looked at and discussed.
We'll ask that. If Jackson and Celia can ask the Recreation Committee to consider that, I would appreciate that.
Of which
Okay.
Joseph is a member. by the way.
Yes, yes.
Right.
So, okay, I think the next hand was Steve Northridge.
Yes, thank you. Steve Northridge, 1130 Tapestry Drive. Love the idea of opening up the CCFC. The only question is a practical one. The gate that currently exists is in between the CDD building and the Lot D area. It's a swing gate that opens up for cars with the intention to be put key card access to allow a gate to open, allow car to enter. So you could park your car back there at the parking lot, or would someone have to park the car somewhere elsewhere and go through a walking gate? So just a little bit different than the other accesses we have, because I think all the other accesses that I've seen have typically been pedestrian single gates, not necessarily a gate that's for cars. That's just a question more and comment. That's all. Thanks.
I guess I hadn't thought about that, but my envision was that gate would open and they could park back there because that's where the parking is.
Don't we have a second set of
So,
gates, right?
Um, yeah.
We have a second set of gates.
we do. So,
It's the car.
we'll have
For
to,
the-
so
okay.
we will ask Nikki and the team to pull together the estimates as soon as they can on what they're recommending, and also, of course, get some cost comparisons.
Right,
so
and
know
maybe
what
we
we're
open
spending.
that one gate and close that one gate and have the other one pass key. But I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, right.
the answer is you go back there, you have access to the field, you have access to the bathrooms.
And yeah,
Yeah.
access to the park.
But I do think we ought to then have the signage. So
Well,
Eileen's hand was up first, and then I'm gonna come
Okay.
back to you. 'Cause I'm trying to get the residents' comments out of the way.
Absolutely.
Eileen Barr?
Yes, Eileen Barr, 1138 Mosaic Drive, as everybody knows. I have recommended for a long time that the field not be a closed field only for proprietary programs. So needless to say, I would be enthusiastic about this idea. It is an amenity for the entire celebration community. And the thing about the gate is very important, and you have to look at that gate, because I've opened and closed that gate for a car and it's hard. Also the issue of bathrooms. We did not put bathrooms in the dog park. We are not putting bathrooms if we use the other lot near the dog park for pickleball. We need an access to bathrooms. These are our bathrooms. I mean, I fought hard to get those bathrooms there, and they're not accessible. So, I think the vast majority of residents of Celebration have never seen, have never seen that field, have never, I mean, it's hard to get community support when.
I think we agree with you. Definitely on the bathrooms. The bathrooms would have to be open.
it would all be open.
It would all be
absolutely.
open. There's no question about that. Okay.
And I would
All
like
right.
to say one more point, because I'm really upset here. I want to go back to the appointment on Park and Rec. I know Jerry asked the question of whether he was number 6. I would like assurance that he was not the person that was being discussed by Jackson Mummy, because the things that were said were not true. and a good man did not get an opportunity to defend himself. So if somebody could please tell me that, I would be very happy, because I feel this whole system has been, I can't tell you how stressful it's been for Jerry and myself.
Okay, well,
There's
Eileen, at this
everything-
point, we are not going to discuss the candidate numbers versus the names. That's our way of, that wouldn't be fair to any of the candidates. And you and your husband were both on the list, but we're not going to discuss that as an open meeting. The people who were selected for those committees will be notified by the management
Well,
company.
You know, the
And they
last
will be
time,
notified.
we were not notified, when I was appointed to
Susanna's, they will be notified, correct?
Oh, I was nodding to David. What's that?
Okay.
Question?
That the
But
the candidates for the committees will be notified by the
I hope that,
management company.
because if this, he was the person who was being discussed, this is going to have to be taken up again, because the things that were said were untrue. And I hope
All
that
right.
the committee was not taken with that to not appoint a very good and very hardworking man to the committee.
Your comment is noted. All right, so it was Celia, and then we'll go back to Joseph, and then we'll need to move on. Celia, do you have a
I was
comment?
just gonna piggyback on what you said about the bathrooms.
Okay.
That they be open,
Of
and what
course.
Joseph said about the equipment.
Mhm.
There is, pickup games at South Village and North Village, but there's no equipment there.
So we will have to discuss how
Protection of the
how our
equipment.
vendors protect their equipment,
Mhm.
so it doesn't become used by pickups. Yes.
And just a
David.
clarification point. Early on, when opening the field complex, we chose to not have it available on an open basis to residents because we didn't have cameras.
Mhm.
We were concerned about the security of the facility. We do have and this is a question to Patrick. We do have active cameras there now that work day and night. They have some night vision. So for the parking lot and the field. So that early concern is now past.
Okay.
And so all those little other logistics like that can be addressed by the Recreation Committee as we move
Okay.
forward.
Yeah, I would
Brian's
also
gonna
point
want-
out that this was noticed as a discussion item, not an action item.
Right.
So
Right.
we've discussed it. and-
Okay, but I was going to revise, because we actually have a motion on table. Let Joseph make his comment, then I'll.
Okay. Joseph, you want to, there you go.
Thank you. Again, I just want to reiterate toward David's comment earlier about deferring in conjunction with my earlier comment. Again, if Lot D is used for additional facilities, it kind of puts the key card as a moot situation because it just has to be open at that point. Thank you.
Well, and that will be covered when we do the construction and pickleball. That'll all be addressed in that, as the part of that project. Brian.
Okay, I agree it was not motioned as an action item, so I will pull my motion. However, I would love a goodwill spirited acclamation from the board that what we would like to do is consistent with this conversation, open the fields to resident access. We will be happy to follow the lead of the Recreation Committee if Nikki, Susanna, and the right people would work with the Recreation Committee and our board liaisons to come back with a final recommendation that we can approve it as an action item at a workshop or board when properly.
So, yeah, so let's talk about this. I like dates and I like.
Well, there's a meeting.
like dates
the
and
rec-
deadlines.
The
So
rec meeting
David's
is
got a-
Monday.
And the follow-on to what your good point is, and to do so in a quick.
Yes.
Let's not belabor it. Let's move
Yeah,
quickly.
this
on
doesn't need to take forever.
Right.
No,
So our
there's a-
next board meeting is actually the 26th of this month. I
And the
don't-
rec meeting is Monday.
Okay, come up with a plan. If we can do it,
Is
get it
that-
on the board
Is
meeting,
that
great.
too
If
much
not,
for the
we
rec
can-
committee? so
Well,
quickly?
Susanna, is Nikki on the call?
Yes.
Yes.
Can Nikki add that to the agenda for the Recreation Committee? I don't think it's been finalized yet.
And that gets posted. of
Oh,
course.
for Monday,
No, it's a week
Oh,
from,
yeah,
week from
okay.
Monday,
we have time.
week from
Okay.
Monday.
What did you say, Nikki?
This is Nikki. Our meeting's on May 24th, and I'll include this on the agenda.
Okay,
Because then the
okay.
board
So
meeting's that Wednesday.
Is that
I
good?
think we're all in the same frame of mind that we would like to move forward with this. We just need the rec committee to get involved and tell us how much and how we're going to do it and what they need from us so we can approve it.
And
Does
we'll
that
make
make
it an action item
Yes.
on the 26th. If the
Excellent.
plan is not 100% done, we can approve it in spirit, subject to finalization between the board
So
liaisons.
can you make
and
sure
the
that gets on
management.
to the 26th agenda? Okay, everyone satisfied with
Sounds
that?
good.
I think we're moving
Thank
forward
you.
with that, and I think the residents are going to. Okay, so we do have two hands up, but I think those comments are about that. We're going to move on to safety protocols, and that's a motion to approve community safety protocols and facility capacity. CDC kind of threw us a ball this morning because I think they changed what we were going to talk about. Do we have a
So
motion?
I'll make a motion. We have a Parks and Recreation report. And the motion would be to approve everything that they have cited under pool capacity, at-risk hours, lounge chairs, pool cleaning, gym reservations capacity, gym cleaning, gym hours of operation, and basketball and beach volleyball court.
Okay.
So that is the motion to approve their recommendation, which means going back to full capacity.
I was gonna say, I don't have
Put it
any
in the-
recommendation. What was
It's
the
in, it's in
recommendation?
the, it's in the board.
It's in the board- it's
It's in the
it's an
workshop
attachment
packet.
In the workshop.
Oh, I see it right
agenda.
here. You're at.
I think, the only
But
thing
so,
that
so,
was,
so what is not stated in the motion, I think is your point, is I'm not putting in the motion anything about masks, so we can discuss that separately. To me, it's fairly straightforward. I'm sorry,
So you're moving to adopt the report with respect to everything except the masks
that is
paragraph.
correct.
Right.
Okay,
That- And we can,
I would second that.
so then
Okay.
we can discuss,
Okay,
because
so,
I think mask is more of a discussion.
okay, so we have a motion and we have a second to approve it without the mask, and then we want to make mask a separate conversation?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't we take a vote then on approving it? Because I think this is it's a good plan. We just need to open those things back up.
It's a nicely thought through plan.
Yes,
Virtually all of these, I think, except the gym are outdoors.
Yeah.
So, and I think we've moved very safely and cautiously over the last 14 months. So I think this is a great plan, and I thank whatever team, Nikki and whomever put this together.
thank you. Okay, so I'm going to call the vote on just that regarding not talking about masks. Okay, Jackson,
Yes.
Cindy.
We're going to discuss though, right?
No, we're approving the plan, but we are going to have a separate discussion regarding masks.
Well, but I have a question on the
Okay.
gym reservations.
Mhm.
If you're going to keep the capacity at 5, but they don't have to register, how is that going to be monitored?
Nikki, are you on the phone to answer that, please?
Yes, so we will still have park monitors checking the facilities, pools, et cetera. So when they make their rounds, they will check just to ensure that there's only 5 guests.
What's the frequency of their checking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It honestly depends on how busy the facilities are. It takes roughly an hour and a half to go through all the CROA facilities in town. So probably an hour and
So
a
they-
half.
About every 2 hours or so. something.
Most
Okay.
likely. Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen, and we swim at that pool fairly often. I don't know that I've ever seen 5 people in that gym at one time, but not saying it can't happen, but I haven't.
I'm
Okay.
just curious.
Okay, your vote, yes.
Yes.
Okay, Brian?
I missed the part about the 5 guests. I'm not sure why we're doing that, but
Could be self-monitored.
Are you,
I'm voting no. I don't agree with 5 guests.
so you would like less than 5 guests or
More.
more than, and just
I
to
think
take
we
off
just put
all?
management in an untenable position, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they're gonna enforce it. It's self-monitored, right?
Now, well, and if were 6 people and you go in and say, okay, who was here first? You were, okay, you have to leave
Okay.
now.
Well, that's not,
All right,
gonna-
so-
but
so
I'm not
techni-
gonna do that. I mean, man,
that-
I'm
but
not
that's
putting
Right, yeah, that's why
any
he's voting no.
I know.
20-year-old in
I
that,
know.
or
So I'm gonna
24-year-old in
change
that
my vote.
position. It's.
You're a no?
Yeah, I'm gonna change
Approve
my
it
vote.
with change. Or is that a motion?
Okay. We have a yes, we have 2 no's. Let's finish the vote on this and then we'll have to go back at it. Celia?
No.
David?
Yes.
I'm a yes. So the motion does not, well, actually, that's a
3-3.
tie.
It does, it's 3-3. It does not.
So it doesn't
Doesn't
pass, doesn't pass. Okay, so would someone like to make a new motion in regards to the gym? And the whole motion, we have to start over with this plan. So how about if I take a stab at the motion? We'll approve this plan and remove the limitation on the gym, the number of people in the gym. Because we don't feel that it's enforceable.
Second,
Okay,
yes.
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Celia?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. That motion passes. So now let's discuss masks. The CDC has now said that if you're fully vaccinated, you can be inside or outside in small or large groups without a mask.
We have consistently, I mean, I was not on the board last year, but you all followed CDC guidelines. I think it's time to just acknowledge that. I don't want to put our management in that position of trying to enforce something. We had a conversation with the recreation participants that we had 17-year-old park monitors or facility people trying to tell adults to put on masks out at the field. And that's just not fair to our employees. I mean, I think that's wrong. So I would simply make our position that we have followed CDC guidelines now and would continue to follow them. And I think it's pretty clear at this point that that means no masks are required if you're vaccinated,
So
indoors or out.
you have
Well, you
that's a
can't say
motion.
if you're vaccinated because
That's what the CD said.
That's what the CDC said.
Yeah,
If
but-
you're vaccinated.
But we have no way of knowing.
we have no way of knowing that.
I understand
vaccinated.
it's an
Right, we know
unenforceable,
that.
but
Right, I understand.
I'm
Right.
following the
So-
precedent that this
Mhm.
board set, which
So
was to
you're
follow
making,
CDC.
you're making a motion. Do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, for discussion, the one comment I would say, in addition to that, they did say that private businesses could make their own guidelines to require masks. So if a grocery would like to still require masks, it's private property, they can still
We're not
require
stopping
masks.
them.
Right.
The motion I'm making is to follow the CDC guidelines with
Okay.
respect to masks.
So we could, okay. Any other comments or discussion?
I know
So,
David's not
I
gonna
have a
like this.
question.
Hold on, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, who, I guess, Celia, you want to go
No, no,
first
go
and then
ahead.
David?
Go
So like Food Truck Friday tonight,
Mhm.
in moving forward,
No masks.
nobody's required to wear a
No,
mask.
but you certainly can wear a mask if you. need.
Farmers Market, nobody's required to wear a mask. Do we still put the mask holders
I
out there
would.
with masks and continue to do that, or just
I
let that
would,
go?
because if someone wants a mask, they can certainly have one.
Okay,
I got my mask on. I would still put the thing out there. If people want to grab a mask, I think it
Yeah.
should be individual choice.
I am not wearing a mask right now. I'm fully vaccinated and I'm sitting in a group of people that are fully vaccinated, but I will still continue to wear a mask when I'm out in public and I do not know, because I don't need to get, none of us need to
just
get
so we
sick.
don't get the flu.
To me, the motion of following CDC guidelines, I 100% believe in following CDC guidelines. But the motion is that, to me, is ambiguous.
Yeah, deliberately so. You really don't think I could write it better?
Couple of thoughts. I think that we need to still be cautious as actual guidelines from CDC come out. The CDC statement is about the safety for vaccinated people. That's not about behavior.
Right.
So I am reluctant to lift our mask standard in public events. Sitting at a pool outdoors alone, that's not a public event. Food Truck Friday is a public event. I also am concerned about our management team being exposed to a population that may not be vaccinated and may be infected. And so I'm concerned about their health and safety. So with an ambiguous motion, I will not support that, because I don't think it gives clear guidance to our community. I think we should still maintain a mask standard for the near future, walk through this tough time. We've done it for 14 months. Let's see a little bit more, you know.
I appreciate that.
I'm just concerned about enforcement.
Understand.
I think we can say that, but enforcing it, they're gonna say, I don't have to, the CDC says I don't. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I really struggle with outside, but I'd love to hear Amy, Suzanne, and JR talk about the 851 building. What are your thoughts on the 851 building? Should we have a mask requirement here? Yes or no?
And and to tag on to that, does CCMC have as you're employed by CCMC, do they have a requirement for
That's a
you?
good question on CCMC, because the news just kind of came out, so we can look at that. I see both sides, following the CDC guidelines, but I also see David's point that, when we're having public events or public, community venues like town hall, I would probably say that we would probably, in our office, we would wear masks outside in the lobby. I don't know, indoor events, maybe maybe you have a preference on masks for indoor events, but maybe it's more open for outdoors. And maybe the comment is that the board recommends or would like or encourages masks to be worn, but of course, we're not going to, go and kick somebody out if they don't.
Well, and as an example, Celia and I got out of my car today, no masks. As we're walking to the door, we put the masks on. We walked down the hallway, past one person, got in here, took our masks off. And You know, that's,
because
I
we all
mean,
know
if-
we're vaccinated.
We all know we're vaccinated.
well, but I know, but I mean, even if I was concerned and if I saw someone coming in the other door, I would just move, I would just move to the side, you know, and keep walking.
Jared, what are
Look,
your
I
thoughts?
fully
Jackson,
understand
yeah.
and support David's concerns. The reason I made an ambiguous motion is that to write a detailed mask policy is so far beyond the scope of what we are empowered to do and should be doing. We could certainly say that we encourage people to follow CDC guidelines, and certainly CCMC as the management company in this building can set their rules for this building, just like Starbucks can or Publix can or anybody else. I'm not sure that we are in a position, we are an HOA, we are not a municipality, and I'm not sure that we are within our rights to enforce a detailed mask standard. So while I agree with the spirit of what David's saying, I am trying to provide the most flexibility by simply saying we will follow the government standard in this regard. And I would encourage people to wear their masks. I'm vaccinated. I think everybody should be vaccinated, but I just don't think I want to be in that business of writing that detailed kind of policy.
JR, did you have a comment?
No, I agree with Jackson. I understand what David's trying to say. I mean, enforcement would be next to impossible at this point. You know, you can ask if you've been vaccinated. You know, you have to take people on their word for it. You know, I'm vaccinated, my wife's vaccinated, my father is. So, I mean, we, you know, have no problem going out in public. You know, I think we still put the mask dispensers out because they're also attached to the hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
You know, the presence there will encourage people. If they want to put it on, great. If not, you know, there's not a lot we can do. We can hope, you know, people that who aren't vaccinated, you know, will get vaccinated, but at some point, I think we need to start getting on.
David?
So to me, the government announcement yesterday is clear based on what the science is evolving. So the announcement yesterday was to give a sense of hope, but I don't think it gives guidance. I think it creates confusion. So my sense is to stay the course with our current policy.
Okay. All
I'll
right.
call the vote.
Okay.
So
Well,
the,
when you make the vote, is there a distinguishment between indoors and outdoors?
that was not the way the motion was made.
the motion is follow
CDC
CDC
guidance right now is you don't need it if you're vaccinated.
Okay.
So Jackson, could you please restate your motion and then we'll take the vote?
My motion is that we endorse and encourage following the CDC guidelines with respect to masks.
So that first paragraph is going to change then?
It's eliminated. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just.
It's eliminated.
Yeah. On that, and she's referring to the document that Parks and that we asked for on what their recommendations are. Okay, Jackson,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Celia,
Yes.
David,
no,
and I'll be a no as well, but the motion passes. Okay, all right. So the next thing on our agenda, I'm sorry, we do have a hand up and I'm sorry, whose hand was it up? Was that
I
Eileen
have one
again?
question on this
Or no?
before we move
Okay.
on.
No, we don't have any hands up.
When,
Yes.
and how and when is this going to be communicated?
Well, the Friday flash, I don't
Oh, it
think
just
it's
went out.
probably, it already go out. Okay. Yeah, JR, you can communicate that. Good point, though. Okay, so the next item on the agenda,
But we're still gonna put the masks
Yes.
out
Oh,
and
yeah. And
everything,
it's-
so
it'll be
people
available.
will see it and think,
if they want to use them,
right.
it will be available for them. And we do recommend that that we're recommending or would like that, but we can't enforce it. Okay,
so just to be clear, as CDC guidance comes out and says, we encourage spectators at a sports events to wear masks.
Mhm.
We'll have to re-communicate.
we will.
Spectators at sports events have to wear masks.
Yeah.
Should,
Yeah.
Yes. I understand. I totally get it. I've written a lot of legislation in my life. I just don't want to be in the legislation writing business here. And I think that was the spirit in which I've offered this, but could things change? For sure.
I mean, I just think unfortunately, and I voted because I would like to see masks still, for the safety, but I just don't think that it's right. I don't think in this stage that it's right to ask our management team and their employees to try and enforce something that is not enforceable.
And CCM's decision relates to your employer and what CCM sets as guidelines.
Right.
And it probably will change by state.
Yes, and it will be changed.
Well, and as far as this building is concerned, if CCMC has different guidelines, then their employees could certainly follow those guidelines.
And they would be
But
required to
people
by
are
their
coming in and
employer,
going
yes.
out,
Yeah.
Yes.
could
Yes,
comply with this.
exactly.
Steve Northridge.
Yes, all right, we move on
Moving
because
on.
the next topic is a briefing by Steve Northridge. Steve Northridge is helping with our pickleball initiative, and Neil usually gets the briefing, but Neil is out at another meeting today. So Mr. Northridge, do you have and I will ask you to keep it brief because we are almost to the end of this meeting time, so
What do you consider brief?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5-10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Steve Northridge, 1130 Tapestry Drive, here to talk about the pickleball facility updates. As you know, March 19th is when the CROA board originally approved the pickleball motion for Lot B. Subsequent to that, I had a discussion with Neil, and then we had a one-on-one meeting, and we established what we refer to as the pickleball task force. We also introduced at that time some consideration for Lot D. April 9th, the CROA board amended the original pickleball motion to include both Lot B and Lot D. We then had pickleball task force met again with Neil as a group. We discussed what's the RFP process, what inputs required from us, and so forth. And we then went off and tried to gather information. One of the sources of information we reached out to was what we referred to as pickleball ambassadors. These are people that are regional and they have knowledge of ongoing pickleball projects in the area, as well as understanding the desired components that you might want to consider in a pickleball facility. So it was a very interesting discussion. We learned a lot during that as well. We also went out and purchased, here's a visual aid, a pickleball manual on how to construct courts and how to build them. So we have that manual as well. So we've become a little bit knowledgeable. So we can at least ask the questions, even though we're not experts, we can at least ask some of the right questions, hopefully. We then produced what we consider a set of requirements, what we consider for a pickleball facility of this type. It was a draft requirements we're working on. We're continuing to update that. We also put together multiple different court layouts so we could have discussions with different people on that. We then reached out to an organization called Pictona. Pictona has built a wonderful facility down toward the Daytona area where they have currently 24 pickleball courts, amongst other things that they have in the facility, and they're looking to add another 24 courts now. We really discussed with them, trying to understand what kind of general contractors they use, what subcontractors they use, what their experience was with a pickleball facility, what the pros and cons are, and what they felt was the best things we should pursue. So it was very insightful. We also reviewed our set of requirements with them, and they gave us some comments on those, so we continue to help refine what we consider our requirements. We also then met with one of the sports field construction people, 90 Sports, who's one of the people that in this Central Florida area is considered one of the premier people to basically build pickleball courts. They're very active in a lot of these different facilities. And when we talk to people, and we tried to understand from them whether they be the general contractor or the subcontractor. And it became very apparent from our discussion that they really were not capable of really being a general contractor. They would really have to be a sub. We also talked about some of the technical things that they do in terms of court surfaces and maintenance and things like that. So it was basically a learning process for everybody in that discussion. May 12th, just this week, we had a meeting with Arnco Construction. We wanted to understand from them how they would be as a general contractor and understand the engagement process. And what we learned is there's really fundamentally a couple of different, there's probably 3 or more different types of engagement process, but for simplicity, there's 2 that we really focused in on. One was considered design build, which is you handled by a single contractor, architect under a single contract. The sidebar on this, it's really the highest price typically, since the bid is really established based on preliminary information provided by the owner, and a substantial contingency is added, usually around 15 to 25% to really cover the risk. Also, the owner really has less control over the compatibility of different bids, since bidders base their price on interpretation and variations are offered to the owner's preliminary information. So you don't get to an apples and apples comparison when you get back, for instance, the information. One of the other methodologies, which is more, I guess, one of the more traditional ones, is called what design bid build, where a design package is created and put out for bid, and the construction companies bid on equivalent scope. This is usually the lowest price, since most of all the unknowns have been resolved in the design phase. Also, the bids should be compatible, since they're all based on a detailed design now, not just the owner's preliminary information. One of the ways to get there and to produce this design package is what they refer to as pre-construction services. Arnco is really suggesting that we pursue a design bid build process using pre-construction service contract to produce the design package, which provide a full set of documentation, including permits that can be put out to bid as the bulk of the bid package. The rest would really largely be T's and C's from TCCMC or the owner. There are two primary components of the pre-construction services contract. First, there's the pre-construction management company. It could be somebody like an Arnco, for instance. And then there's the subcontractors that actually carry out the work, the engineers, the architects, and other people that pursue getting the permits and things like that. So there's two components to that. The process for this would be something like an RFP would potentially be issued to identify and select a pre-construction services vendor. The pre-construction vendor would also bid the construction, would also bid on the construction portion as well, potentially. Arnco, for instance, indicated if they were selected as the construction services person and not for the construction, they could be hired to oversee the construction portion as well. So from a standpoint of next steps, currently there is a motion to obtain pickleball facility bids for lot B and D. Really, after discussion with the team and Neil, we recognize the design bid build and also design bid both produce the same level of components over time. However, we believe the design bid build offers the best things for the following reasons: the potential lower overall cost based on firm bids being produced by contractors, since they're bidding against a fully permitted design package that is consistent. So each individual contractor gets the same information that they can bid against. If we just give them preliminary information, each one's going to take a look at that and make their own interpretation. You're not going to be able to get an apples to apples comparison. So receiving an apples to apples bids, or since they are bidding against a highly specified design package, would be an advantage to us as the owners, because we would then understand what we're looking at from a standpoint of what's being built, make sure that all the bids are equivalent. At the design bid build process, using pre-construction service to produce the design package would result really in the following steps. We'd have to first gain approval from CROA board to issue an RFP for construction services.
Okay.
Once we,
Steve, I'm gonna have to, we are running out of time, so I do agree that, the RFP.
I need 7 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, we've got 5 minutes left in the meeting and we do have a hard stop at 10:30 to pick up on our next meeting. Can you just give us a brief wrap up?
Yeah, I was getting there. Basically, I was trying to outline what you had to do, and in summary, we're asking that the board modify the pickleball motion to issue an RFP for construction service, pre-construction services, in order to create the design package. That's where we're suggesting we go.
Awesome. I'm sorry.
We should move these earlier.
Okay, so what I agree, I think we need to put that, if we need to ratify an RFP.
Well, why? I thought we had already authorized going out for bid. So we had you working with Neil. I think you're approved to go.
Okay.
We were actually authorizing you guys all to work together to get it out there and come back to the board with the proposals. How you choose to structure that working with management is your decision.
So
what you're asking for right now is to get bids back for the entire facility. Pre-construction services would not include a bid for the entire facility. It'd just be considered for that services, which may be in the $10,000 to $15,000 range, not the entire facility. That's the difference.
I think it's up to management to work with this committee.
Let's I know Neil has been working with you, so let's
That's
have, yeah, so let's have Neil, if anything he needs, he can certainly let us know, but at this point, wherever stage you're on, you need to move to the next step. And if it's getting bids, if that's a $10,000 to $15,000 amount, if we need to approve that, he needs to get that on our agenda to get that moving.
We have the board meeting on the 26th. If we need to have something specific on the board meeting for the 26th, let's have it specifically there. But you guys are empowered to move this thing forward and get bids so we can move on.
Yes. Okay.
Is that a fair answer, Steve?
Are you asking us to put the language together for the motion, or are you asking us to actually have the bids back?
No, not to have the
For
bids back.
pre-construction.
If you need, what I heard you say is you need a motion approved by the board, work with Susanna and work with Neil to put together a motion for whatever it needs to say for the 26th. We'll approve it. And then you're rocking and rolling.
Yep. Yeah,
All right,
because I
thank
think we had already thought that we had approve that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so-
The last thing
okay.
on the agenda, and we have 3 minutes to do this, is CROA workshop topics for our next workshop. We do have another workshop scheduled next Friday. And
If we need it.
yeah, if we need it. I know that the covenants committee has submitted some things that they would like us to review. They have a
Yes.
plan for streamlining and expediting, I
Well,
guess.
there's never been a formal
I think it's
anything
more
written
his,
on, the
yeah.
letter, when the letters go out and whatever, and they've looked at it, they've revised it, they've streamlined it. They've worked with Jessica.
yeah,
So
so
she's
we've got,
involved.
so
So they
we
would
have
like-
that, and that is ready to review because they have
Yes.
already submitted it. So
Yes.
that is something. we
That's
could-
separate from the ARC streamlining.
Correct. This is
Yes, that has
covenants.
just,
Okay.
this is just
Okay,
covenants. Okay. What other topics do we
Well,
feel? Go ahead.
I don't know, but it may be possible or may be necessary to discuss the RFP
Mhm.
at that point.
It might be.
At a workshop.
It may be, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll know better in another hour.
We're still
but
doing the workshop on the 21st.
Well, that's what
If
we're,
needed.
if needed.
I'd like
So-
to keep it on the schedule.
Yeah,
and I'd
let's
like
keep it
it-
on the schedule and then I'll put together, and maybe at that point, they can also have some guidance. Yeah, we won't have guidance back on the
Can we agree to
fields.
make a 1-hour status meeting type thing?
Okay,
That'd be great.
I
That's
would like
also-
I would like a status update on where the ARC streamlining is at.
That's scheduled. I have that scheduled for next Friday.
Perfect.
Jessica's going to be
you
talking
go.
on
And,
that.
and then
Good.
Jackson's point, if needed.
okay.
So covenants, ARC, streamlining, and
And
then
the
also
RF.
that's when the Spring Lake Gardens does their.
Yeah, and that's only,
Update.
that's only a
Yeah.
5-minute update. But again, we're keeping that to a very short meeting because that'll be our second workshop in a row. Celia, you had a question?
I don't know if this pertains to the workshop, but I've had a couple of residents reach out to me about, we had set that the end of the month was gonna be, where everything has to be taken down, lights.
That's already been decided and
But
that'll
there's
be,
no communication to the residents on that. Maybe. you could
I do have, and you have to refresh my memory. How did we decide we were going to communicate that to the residents to remove their heart signs?
That would be a Friday flash
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah, they were going to be moved.
The Foundation just has to decide if they want to.
Kathleen.
They,
Hold
what they want done with it,
Yeah.
if they want anything, otherwise we just have to take them down.
All right, so I had spoken to Kathleen when I was at her office. She says, I think it's a great idea having it at the veteran.
Just
Okay.
execute.
Yeah, we can
Execute.
handle this
Yeah.
offline. It doesn't need to be
Figure
part,
that.
it doesn't need to,
They're talking about the lights.
Whatever.
yeah, we don't need that.
Okay.
We don't need to
That
have that as
was-
part of
that's
this
a Friday
meeting.
flash
So,
decision.
okay. All right, I
So-
make a motion that, okay,
And for the workshop, I have been talked to by a couple of residents at Mirasol that they think Lakeside security is starting to slip a little.
okay.
So can we
Let's put that
get,
on the agenda.
let's get that on the agenda. It can be 5 minutes, but maybe there could be
Nikki
a
can,
briefing. And if
yeah,
we
Nikki
need-
can update us on that and see what's going on there. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, very good. I'm